calling to order the first ad hoc committee meeting for site plan selection. We have all of our members present. Do you guys want to just introduce yourselves for the camera, just for good measure?
Name and title.
Kathy Zaremba, COA Program Coordinator.
Cindy Currier, COA Director.
Damon Jesperson, member of COA.
John Farrar, member of COA.
And we have two guests in the audience. You guys want to identify yourselves?
Leslie Matthews.
Tony Matthews.
Welcome, thank you for joining us. So, what I wanted to do today is just essentially establish what our goals are, which I think we talked about in the charge of the committee, and assign some jobs, maybe take some commentary if you guys have anything you would like to add, and hopefully we will not be too long in today's meeting. So, we have a charge dating back to June 20, what? I don't know.
I didn't print the charge out.
Okay, it's okay. So, what I was hoping we could do is have you guys, since you are the most familiar with the needs of the Council on Aging, go over the charge and start adding additions or subtractions to what is written, because I feel like you guys know the Council on Aging's needs better than anybody else.
Okay.
John, I was hoping you could reach out to some other Council on Agings in our area, see what they have for space, see what they would like for space that they don't have, and start some of those conversations, because I think while we do a lot, there are lots of different programs in different areas, and I think looking at what other councils are doing and how they're doing it probably would serve us well. So I was hoping that since you have some connections in the area, you'd be willing to start those conversations and bring things back. I will continue to work with Tracy and meet with the selectmen, or at least the chair of the selectmen, to keep them updated on what we're doing, how it's proceeding, making sure it works within the legal framework of town government and all of those things. Do you guys have any questions or needs or concerns right off the bat?
No, we just came up with a list of what we felt were needs.
All right.
For purposes, that's it.
Well, why don't you read through them?
Okay, so the first grouping that we came up with is really just kind of broad. We want to make sure we have windows that open. Where we are now, our windows don't open. In the school, it was nice because you could, open the windows.
Mm-hmm.
A nice day. Number one, it's nice to get fresh air, but even just for, in the era of COVID and whatnot, having fresh air is important. So we wanted that. Wanted to make sure we have two egresses, a front entry and an emergency rear exit. We would really essentially like to have the rear exit have access to the kitchen area when we have catering and whatnot. Depending on what this building were to look like, having skylights that open would be nice too, again for airflow, natural light. Parking for our van that would allow for a portable garage shelter. I'm just thinking, one of those.
Yep.
I'm just thinking like as the weather gets bad.
Inclement.
Yeah, it would be nice to have it covered so that the van driver doesn't, or I don't have to call DPW to have them shovel snow off the top of the vehicle. Covered drop-off area at the front door. Coat closet or area. Right now we just have a rack that we pull out of our closet. And then zero entry area, so no stairs or ramp, just a flat surface to make it easy for people to get in and out of the building. So as far as rooms go, a commercial kitchen with a dishwasher or dish machine. Right now we have a dishwasher that's like a dishwasher you'd have in your house. Not really conducive when you serve 25 to 30 people.
Yeah.
We were doing like 6 dishwasher loads. It takes a lot of time.
Now with the commercial kitchen,
Mhm.
are we required by the health code to have stainless like a commercial kitchen? Or is it, when you say commercial kitchen, yeah.
So all I'm
I think I
thinking
need a
is
little
like,
more information.
when I'm saying commercial, I'm thinking more like, you know, like facility-wise. So having enough prep space, having enough storage space, having enough,
Mhm.
I don't wanna call them amenities, because to me, they're necessities. Like having a commercial size refrigerator, as it is, we're constantly playing Jenga with our refrigerator,
Mhm.
trying to either fit food in that we have brought in. On a day-to-day basis, you know, having the milk and the cream and the, you know, different things that we have in the refrigerator, it's fine, but it's when it comes to, and we're,
Events.
right, and we're doing an uptick in events with food. So having enough space to be able to store all that,
Does the kitchen at Peter Meacher needs something of that order?
I would say we would need bigger than what they have. But we do like that big prep area in the middle, you know what I'm talking about?
Right, so like, we do have, say we have a new dishwasher in our kitchen downstairs. The dishwasher in our kitchen, so say if we have an event at Peter Hall, we bring back all of our dishes. It could take us more than 2 days to be able to wash all the dishes through the dishwasher, let the dishwasher dry, and on top of that, we really don't even know how sanitized they are.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
But like, we don't even have silverware. When we do an event like that, we have the caterer bring silverware, or we use disposable.
Disposable.
Just because it's like time prohibitive to do all that.
Mhm.
So we were thinking of, you know, again, like a commercial refrigerator, freezer to be able to accommodate everything. Prep tables and counter space, a large deep sink. Our sink downstairs is very shallow.
Mhm.
You get soaking wet if you want to wash anything.
Right, if we wanna put like our coffee pots in there and stuff, we can. The sink is like this deep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a new sink, and we're happy to have it.
Yep.
But if we were to think like things that we really could use going forward,
A deep sink would be
Yeah.
one. Cabinets and drawer space for storage, a pantry closet, a dirty utility sink tub for cleaning.
Mhm.
Garbage disposal, we don't have that where we are. Eye wash station, we don't have that. And I was actually thinking like a small stackable, almost like an apartment-sized washer and dryer. So any kind of like aprons, dishcloths, things like that I take home now and I wash them at my house. But that could be twofold if their washing machine broke and they needed to come in and use a washer dryer. It would just be another option for seniors that we could offer.
Mhm.
Storage space, we would want an office supply closet, a copy machine, printer, alcove. Right now, the printer that is shared is in my office, so they have to come in to my office to use that. So I'd like it kind of in obviously a private place, because if we're printing anything that has personal information on it, it can't just be out in the main room.
Mhm.
Closet for supplies. We are very happy with the 4 office spaces that we have right now. Each of us has an office space and then another one for a consult room. So we have our blood pressure clinic in there, a shine counselor, things like that. Then as far as activity rooms would go, we would like a library/reading/game room with a closet. An art room with a closet and a deep utility sink when we have like our watercolor class.
Mhm.
Having water obviously available, but also to clean up afterwards. We would like to, instead of using our kitchen sink, which we do right now, or the sink which is in the consult room is a very small hand washing sink. So cleaning art supplies in that sink, again, it's very small. We would like a large room that could accommodate up to 75 people. So we're thinking like instead of having to go over to Peter Hall, we'd want to have a space where we could have our large events on site. That room, we'd like to have storage closets to be able to store our tables and chairs away. So right now, if we have, say, the theater group that we work with come, we're, you know, folding up the tables and rolling them to the side, which is fine. It's not that that doesn't work, but it would be nice to be able to put them away altogether. I would like in that large room a small stage area for speakers or entertainers. It's just nicer if you have someone speaking to have them just up a level. If you think about Newburyport, go over, I think on the corner of their main room, it's just like a little, like 2 steps up. It's not a big stage, it's just like enough to rise that person up a little bit so that your attention can be drawn to them. We were offered a pool table in the past. I don't have space for that, so having a separate room for something like that. I know Newburyport has a separate room. It's very small, but enough to accommodate the pool table. That'd be something we'd be interested. A lobby area with a reception desk, some comfortable seating, would be something we'd be interested in. Outdoor space, we're lacking that here. Anything that we need outside, we have to, because this is rented space, we have to ask if we can utilize anything outside. So what we would like is a covered patio or deck area with seating and tables. I would like that to have access to the parking lot, so that you don't have to go into the building to get to it. I'd like it to be accessed both ways, simply because we've done a couple of food truck events, and if it's a nice day, being able to just have people get their items from the food truck and then go right to the seating area instead of having to go inside the building, outside the, it's just to have easier access for folks. Space for outdoor games, something like cornhole, things like that. I'd love to put a pickleball court there. That's been a huge program for us. A walking path would be great, though I do know a walking path is something that the rec committee is working on over at Central Street.
Yep.
Space for raised garden beds would be something nice too. Be another program that we could offer. There are a lot of folks that we work with that live at housing locations in town. They're not allowed to do gardening, so that'd be something nice. Restrooms. So what I would like is single handicap accessible restrooms. Instead of having a restroom with, 3 stalls or whatever, having individual restrooms I think would be more conducive to us.
And how many do you need in that?
I put down 5, but that doesn't necessarily mean 5. But I'm thinking, staff plus. I'm just thinking if we had a men's room and a women's room, like everywhere else on the planet that you go visit, the women's room line is crazy. We just don't have at this point, I don't have a zillion men coming to the Council on Aging. So instead of wasting this space on having a huge men's room, why not have all individual, anyone can use anything? Was my thought process.
No objection, I'm just,
Wondering,
yes.
numbers.
I'm
Understood. As far as those handicap restrooms go, I'd obviously want emergency pull cords in there, automated entry. We have a lot of folks that use rolling walkers.
Yeah.
So we had the switches installed downstairs, so people don't have to worry about fumbling with the door and their walker or cane, whatever. And I would want all the entry, exit doors to have the same thing, be able to automate it so that people don't have to fight with the door to get in. And then as far as parking, so right now downstairs, I believe there are 4 handicap parking spots. I think it's 4.
Step through and look.
Yeah. I'd want to increase the number of handicap parking spots that are available right across from the door or right next to the door. Maybe 8 to 10 spots would be good. We'd want obviously parking for our van. And then just trying to think ahead to our larger events. So with PETA Hall, when we have our events there, there's limited parking there. So people are parking at the Plum Island Grill, they're parking at
Beachcomber.
across from the Beachcomber, or they're parking at Sunset Grill. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm not going to need 40 parking spots, but on an event like that, I'd want to be able to accommodate probably 40 cars. Did you want to add anything?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Well, you guys have already done a lot more than I had anticipated, so
We've been
thank you.
thinking.
Yes, I'm sure thinking about it, but you actually got it organized and put on paper, so that's great.
Okay.
Any comments, thoughts?
I
or-
think you have a sense of where I'm going to take this. The parking, the walking territory, the location for pickleball, covered patio, and all that that implies. Safe parking would be another word I would use, as well as accommodation. And synergy for some of the room space you need, the stage, the large platform for large gatherings, especially theater events. And that would be a coordination with a building that you and I have spoken of in the past, which would be conjunction with the library. Lunt Street, a remarkable, I worked that out 2.5 years ago with Eric Spahn and came up with a stunning design that he put together for all the things that are on this list, 1 through 14 that I've noted, are right there. I'd call it 0.5 Lunt Street. And you'd actually have a breezeway to the library with separate doors, separate keys, in coordination with the director at the library. And I just see it as a stunning opportunity for Newbury to use land they already own, and with a lot of the level of safety and convenience. You're talking about walk in, roll in, no stairs, and it would help the square footage go from maybe 8 to 5,000 square feet, that sort of thing, because we could use underutilized space over at the library and conjoin the buildings only by proximity, not by door. You wouldn't be an appendage, you'd be separate. And if you walk that property, it wouldn't take a lot of excavation for us to create something special there. But that would be up to the architectural design of what you've described so very carefully, so very thoroughly, and how do you fit all of that nuance into a building that's safe and easily, and you want to be able to look out over all of your dominion. Your office spaces have to be conjoined so that you can observe and monitor what's going on. Both have that responsibility.
Well, I think the library is a great potential site, but I think
Well, there's
we
many-
want to start
Yeah.
with space needs and then start to explore site possibilities in town. because,
Positively, yes.
Do you guys have any comments or concerns, or just decided it was a good place to be on a Wednesday morning?
Yeah, cold Wednesday morning. It's a in-depth wish list for sure. And I can see that there's gonna be a lot of work that's gonna have to go into it to push as many things together as you can do it with a convenient location. Good start.
All right.
Did you say Eric drew up a design for the library?
It was a rough hand design. It was a position paper that came out about 4.5 years ago that looked, your predecessor, or you participated in, it was about 8,500 square feet. And we were able to
But
conjoin.
on Lunt Street?
No, that was a standalone somewhere.
Oh.
No specified location. Just what do we need and what's it look like? It had all the rooms laid out. I have no idea who drew those drawings, and I've been going to the library to do research and reading, and I walk around that location and walk those trails and watch a few ball games, and I've always admired the fact that it's a safe parking lot and it's quite often empty. And underutilized is the proper word I would use, and a lot of space that could be regathered, retooled, reused, and in all the land out back, and the opportunity for a fire pit, a standalone gazebo that's covered, and even the incorporation of a town pickleball location. And it just a great spot, and the town of Newbury owns it, which is a helpful element. But the drawing that he did was,
Big consideration.
well, it's just one of many locations. We've only begun, just started. This is an inaugural meeting, as stated by the director. And long and the short of it is something to consider.
Yeah, I think the important thing for us is to think about all the things that we need, and then we can figure out how best to create. Co-join is one of the words that I use, because one of the things we talked about initially in the charge was that you wanted to be with another town element. So
I think it's wise.
Yeah.
I don't think it's wise to be standalone by ourselves somewhere.
Yeah.
And you've got the art center across the street within walking distance, the post office within walking distance, all the things that were in that report that we put in 2 years ago. Sort of a drop-dead, airborne, perfect landing zone. And the long and the short of it is it's safe.
Well, I do think connection with whether it's the library, town hall, something,
Yeah.
some other town
Town
entity
entity.
would be important for us.
Yeah, town hall would be ideal, wouldn't it? Because you're next to all of the activities and entrances, but do we have a location that
Yeah.
permits?
I mean, it's helped us thus far,
Two-sides.
but
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's one of the things to keep in consideration. So as we sort of develop the program needs and then start to put square footage to them and then start to look at what that costs,
Right.
you know, having what elements can be shared, and that was something we looked at a lot when we were looking at the police station, town hall, combined facilities, you know. Did it make sense? Does it save us enough? So those will all be
Right.
questions that we ask as things come together.
right.
How do we bring the planning and the finance committee into all of this at this point? Again, square footage, design, all of those elements
So
that are above our call and pay grade.
essentially, as we develop what is sort of the needs list,
Yep.
what that has for square footage, we can put a rough cost to it, because we know buildings per square foot cost,
Mhm.
and then we submit that to capital planning and the finance committee to say, this is what we are thinking, and they will say, well, we don't have that right now, but it is now on the radar as something that, you know, unless there's a windfall, anyone who wants to leave a lot of money to the town of Newbury to solve some of our budget problems, you should step forward anytime.
Well, there's a fellow in Michigan we might call.
But, you know, the process is to start establishing the needs, what the needs will cost, and then looking at how, you know, where those could be met and what that would
Yeah.
look like. And, you know, with something like this, you know, things like the pickleball court or garden beds are something that, you know, might be add-ons later if there's space. You know, that's something that can be done either in conjunction with the rec committee or DPW when they have time, or, you know, there's probably a prioritization. You know, it's terrible to have to add a room to a building, but adding outdoor things like a deck, that usually is not as disruptive to either function or form. And if you plan it in initially, then it's much easier to do. So getting the full scope of needs established is, I think, the first thing that we need to make sure we have right. And then we can start to, as I said, put some square footage down. And, you know, should we be able to combine it with a space, whether it is a room like this that is essentially the hearing room, which could, were it on the first floor and accessible. You know, it's not quite 75 people big, but it gets you some of the way there for most of the events. And it's a, you know, then it becomes a question of how does it sell to the town, and how do we get people on board with it, and that's a whole different kettle of fish, which is more in your purview at this point in time. But, you know, we have to establish what makes sense and what we need so that we can get everyone else who needs to be involved and on board. But I think that is a very, like I said, very good start. I had no idea you guys were gonna come in with a list already put together. So very impressed with the work you guys have already done.
Thank you.
And John, if you can start to look at some of the other counts on aging to see if there's anything that we are missing, that would be great. And I'd like to establish our next meeting date and then wrap up for today.
Do you want to stick with a Wednesday?
That is fine for me.
Is it possible to do it on the follow-on to the traditional COA meeting?
The Monday after our Monday meetings.
Yeah. At least we're here. That makes sense to you guys?
Is that worse for you because you're out of the office for too long?
Too long, yeah.
Mondays are okay.
You have to work.
You comfortable?
Yeah, we'll just make it work.
Okay.
All right, our next meeting is,
22nd.
22nd.
is that enough time, do you think, for you to do a little research? Or would you like to just delay till the February meeting?
I can answer that with a little caveat. I'm headed to California. I'm a brand new grandfather. I'm going to be out there for about a week. And come back, I should be back by the 12th of February. So you're talking about February 22nd, is that what you're saying?
No, January 22nd
January
is our
22nd. Well,
next
January,
meeting.
I don't leave until the 29th, so that 22nd is great. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious if you'd have time to do any reach out. There's no point in holding a meeting if everyone is too busy to do any work between now and then, so.
Well, I could probably get to Hamilton and get to Newburyport in that period of time. That might be two strong recommendations. Do you have any personal connections with your COA counterparts? Who are the closest ones to you that you commiserate with?
Merrimack,
Merrimack?
yeah. Newburyport has a new director, I haven't met her yet, but we've been to that facility. That's a massive building, but they have a lot of things that we are
They're
interested in.
right there on High Street.
Yeah.
I go up and meet with Brother Lunt there occasionally. You know, all right,
Yeah. I mean, that building is bigger than what we would need, but it has a lot of,
it's a big town.
there's a lot of aspects that are things that we would want.
How about Raleigh?
You can certainly talk to her, but I think she'll tell you that her space is not big enough for what she
Sufficient.
needs, yeah.
Where is she? Is she in the town hall
I can't remember if they're connected to town hall or
or the
not.
library?
I don't remember.
And those are both, they're
Yeah.
right next to each other, aren't they?
They're,
Are they
right on
standalone?
1A on, what is it, Central Street?
Oh,
Oh,
Central.
Central Street.
Central?
Just-
Yeah, I've never been to
It's an
her,
old school building.
her location,
I know where it is. Okay, all right.
but I think she's lacking with space.
But she may still have ideas that we haven't
Absolutely.
thought of.
Yeah.
So, you know, part of the reach out to the other people in the community is just to generate ideas, because the more,
West Newbury, Amesbury, Salisbury.
Okay.
yeah, I don't know, is there I know for the selectmen, there's a Massachusetts selectmen sort of group that,
So we have a Merrimack Valley Directors Group
okay,
that I'm a part of, so a lot of those towns that I just mentioned are in there.
are in the group, okay.
How often do you meet?
Not a lot now that everyone's back
Back
to
to-
work doing program, but when I first started, it was COVID.
Okay.
And we were closed to the public, so we were meeting on a regular basis. like weekly.
Okay.
And then it just, no one
Things got
has
too
time
busy.
to have a
Yes.
meeting. So usually once a month, there's an age span meeting that people try to make it to. I'm on the NEAT board. I meet a lot of directors through that because we share the NEAT
That's an
program.
Amesbury. Yeah.
So we,
What's the director's name, for the NEAT director's name?
Dory, what's Dory's last name? Sawyer.
Sawyer. She was here.
Mhm.
She brought the team in, okay. Amesbury would be a good town to talk to.
That's the NEAT director, Dory.
Yeah, I know,
okay.
it just,
But yes, Amesbury's Council on Aging would be good, Salisbury.
And the COA in Ipswich, is that in the town hall?
I believe that is in the town hall.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay, that's.
I don't believe she's part of our group, but that's certainly
No,
one
but
to talk
somebody-
with. They do a lot of different programming too, so.
I've been visiting with the VA group down there a couple of times to help a couple of youngsters
Mm.
who have just come back from bad places. Our new director is exceptional. He gets it. Okay.
Very good. So, as far as scheduling, we have our Council on Aging meeting on the 22nd. Are we gonna try and do a van ride that day, or do we? Yes.
We were going to try and do it that day.
Okay,
So should we do this at 10, 15?
sounds good.
What will that look like for duration and destination?
The van ride?
Yeah.
We were just gonna go, so like we did with the select board members, we went just up 95 and back down and kind of just a quick little trip around. It's not long, it's just to give you guys a feel for the vehicle. So maybe 15 minutes. But just thinking it's a matter of getting everyone downstairs on the vehicle,
Out the door.
out the door.
Makes sense to me. All right, so we will have our next meeting, or I guess we should have a motion for that. Just-
Motion?
and
First.
get a second.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then,
And the time just remains elastic, just whenever the first
yeah,
COA
we'll set
ends.
it at 10:15 so we can reserve the room.
Okay.
But it will be elastic based on our returning. We can't, I mean, since it's an ad hoc committee, we could open it earlier, but I think what will make the most sense is if we are done early, we will get a cup of coffee and wait to open the meeting until 10:15.
Sounds like a plan. Okay.
And then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you guys, and Happy New Year.